Hi, I'm Deborah Benner, and your host of Blue House Productions' COVID concert series, Illness, Anxiety, and Creating a Musical Safe Place. Today's special guest is Dr. Marvin McMillan.
I'm Dr. Marvin McMillan. I'm a surgical intensive care unit doctor, an internal medicine doctor, and an immunologist at Berkshire Medical Center in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. I've been a bedside patient care doctor, trauma and emergency surgeon, and researcher into critical illness now for 37 years. But for the last 17 years, I've also had the privilege of working with some great musicians and national and international organizations on the development and use of music as an aid in the care of the critically ill. Live music at the bedside, right there in the intensive care unit. Patients with immediately life-threatening illness have been admitted to intensive care units, or ICUs, now for nearly 60 years. But the specialty of critical care is still considered a young discipline. While I'm no longer young myself, I am the first graduate of the University of Minnesota's Surgical Critical Care Fellowship in 1983. So I have had the privilege of growing up with my profession. In the early days, we focused mostly on patients who could no longer breathe on their own, whose heart or blood pressure were badly compromised, who had kidney or liver failure, overwhelming infection, brain injuries, or severe trauma. After nearly 60 years of study and practice, critical care has had great success in saving lives. When intensive care units were first created, they had survival rates of only 50%. Yet now, 85 to 95% of patients admitted to an ICU will survive their hospitalization. With computerization and very large databases, physicians and hospitals are also now able to better study which patients are at greatest risk and what therapies have the greatest benefit, both in the critical phase of the illness and accomplishing full recovery and rehabilitation from the illness. There have been some surprises in these studies. Where one lives may determine good outcome more than the skill of one's surgeon. The local hospital and the support of your family and friends in your illness and recovery may be more important for a good outcome after routine surgery than the famous surgeon at the famous hospital 4 hours drive away. And elements of the healing environment like music may help decrease your pain, prevent intensive care unit related mental status changes, shorten your time on a breathing machine in the ICU, help you cope with anxiety and upset, and reestablish a sense of control, and even increase the likelihood of you surviving your critical illness and achieving full recovery. One of the musicians who has been working with us on this project is Michael Bard, a flamenco and classical guitar player from Washington, D.C. Michael works with Dr. Ann Berger and the Pain and Palliative Care team at the National Institute of Health's Hatfield Clinical Research Center in Bethesda, Maryland. He plays at the bedside of patients with complex illnesses who are at the NIH on experimental protocols. We've started to refer to music that really engages the patient as penicillin pieces. I've asked Michael to share with you 3 of his best penicillin pieces. When he first walks into a patient's room, he uses these to introduce the patient to his art and the respite it can provide them from the anxiety and uncertainty of their illness. Nearly 20 years ago, I was introduced to Live Music Now in London. Live Music Now was the creation of Yehudi Menuhin, Prince Charles, and Sir Ian Stutzker. The organization focuses on exploring and teaching young musicians the chemistry and the bond between performer and listener. I would say they pioneered teaching young musicians about these connections in medical environments, except that music actually seems to have always been part of comforting and caring for the sick, back to Pythagoras in ancient Greece and Egyptian surgeons writing papyri on the banks of the Nile 4,000 years ago. But Live Music Now inspired me to bring large-screen televisions and classical music and landscape videos into my intensive care unit at Beth Israel Medical Center in Manhattan. The hospital already had a great program, the Louis Armstrong Music and Medicine Program for young music therapy trainees, and we invited them into the ICU to play at the patient's bedside. While a small percentage of the population are truly unmusical, it seems there is often a specific musical prescription for most patients. Reverend David Jarvis is our ordained congregational minister, pastoral visitor, cabaret pianist, and bedside keyboardist at BMC. Jarv is going to share one of Louis Armstrong's choices from the American Songbook. Jarv has found it to be an effective penicillin piece with many patients in the ICU and surgical floors. He continues to work with us at Berkshire Medical Center, but also now works with Dr. Connie Tomaino at the Institute for the Study of Music and Neurologic Function in Mount Vernon, New York, which was founded by Dr. Oliver Sacks. While we began teaching music therapy students in the Beth Israel ICU in 2003, what really helped the bedside program develop was the involvement of professional classical guitarist Andrew Schulman. Andrew suffered a cardiac arrest after pancreatic surgery and was admitted to our ICU in a coma with terminal acidosis. Yet he experienced a nearly miraculous physiologic improvement when his wife played Bach's St. Matthew Passion into his earbuds. Even people not familiar with classical music are familiar with this piece by Bach, though they might not actually know its name. After Andrew recovered from his own shock and coma, for the next 5 years he returned to our ICU patients' bedside every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He listened to their own and their families' fears and anxieties. He then sampled through his vast classical, cabaret, and American songbook repertoire to help patients find their own personal music prescription. The goal is to help the patient create a safe place of respite to recover some element of control over their life and future. Happy memories, family rituals, culture, and life experiences all dramatically enhance the power of music to comfort and support the sick patient and their family. Michael Bard's background and guitar study have included classical music, flamenco and Hispanic music, Portuguese and Mediterranean guitar traditions. Some examples:
a song about the girl from Ipanema. Olha que coisa mais linda, cheia de graça. Ela é menina que vem e que passa, 12 balanço, caminho do mar. Mostra o corpo rodo do céu de Ipanema, seu balançando, mais que um poema, coisa mais linda que eu já vi passar. Ah, porque estou sozinha. Ah, porque tu é tão triste. Ah, a beleza que existe, a beleza que não é só minha, que também passa sozinha. Ah, se ele soubesse ele quando ele passa, mundo sorrindo, sorrindo de graça, fica mais lindo por causa do amor.
It was particularly resonant and comforting to a frightened Brazilian family at the NIH for an experimental protocol to hear familiar music from home, and for a grumpy retired military man to once again hear the Spanish classics he had sarcastically asked for. Jarve had a similar experience playing for an elderly patient facing an uncertain future, helping her remember being young and beautiful on her first trip to Paris. Michael Bard is often accompanied in his work by his wife, Deborah Benner.
Quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me épaule tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, et ça me fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur, on n'est pas de bonheur, dont je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, là je jouerai pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors j'en sens à moi mon cœur qui bat.
In 2014, Andrew's story was discovered by the New York media and then picked up by national news as well. He got a book deal to write Waking the Spirit, A Musician's Journey Healing Body, Mind, and Soul, for which I wrote the afterword. In the course of his book interviews, we were frequently asked, "What are you doing to help other musicians and hospitals learn from your experience?" Our response was to offer a summer course in the Berkshires, teaching musicians about critical care, surgery, and trauma. Michael, Deb, and Jarve are graduates of that first year's course and have now been returning to subsequent courses to share their own bedside experiences and teach other musicians. The second year we gave the course, we were joined by members of the music team from the Lombardi Arts and Music Program of Georgetown University and MedStar Medical Center. Anthony Hyatt, a violinist with the Georgetown program, will now share a couple of his penicillin pieces. That first piece is called Ashokan Farewell and was written at the end of the summer alongside a beautiful reservoir in upstate New York. As an upstate New York guy myself, every time I hear it, it takes me back to fall walks in the woods with my dad when I was a kid. Studies on illness behavior have shown that sick and frightened patients perceive and think much differently than healthy people. It's a kind of mindfulness one wouldn't wish on anyone, and patients often experience everyday sayings such as, "Money can't buy you happiness," as profound insights. The platitudes haven't changed, but the patient's perception has. The same is true for how people listen to music. Studies at the NIH on brain activity to music with functional magnetic resonance imaging show that there is 6 times the brain activity to music that there is to speech. The emotional comfort of the memory, the skill of the performance, the sharing with friends and family, and perhaps even the attentive goodwill of the musician seem to actually contribute in a measurable way to the brain activity of the listener. Most of the music we've shared with you to this point has been fairly slow tempo, reflective, supportive music, which may be best for introducing the idea of music as a therapeutic tool to critically ill patients and their families. But there is also lots of room for up-tempo music. Rhythm really engages the brain. One of the oddest things about the MRI studies is that when one plays up-tempo dance music to a patient under general anesthesia, the parts of the brain associated with movement light up. The pattern looks the same as if the patient were dancing, though they're actually lying on an operating room table asleep under anesthesia.
encontramos en the swing sabrosa de donde, de cuál lado encontramos en the swing sabrosa. Mira, escucha y goza mi montura. Qué rico bailando. Mira, escucha y goza mi montura. Qué rico bailando. Miguel.
Many physical therapists are already aware of the benefit of music and routinely incorporate it into their postoperative and post-hospital treatment. But even if the patient is not actively moving, music can engage their brain and rouse them out of their fatigue and depression. Some of the patients our musicians play for are asking God why He has let this happen to them and are in spiritual crisis. But many hospitals today discourage faith-specific counseling and have tried to support patients spiritually in a more interfaith way that is compatible across all creeds. While I have no idea whether there's an afterlife, when I look at the beauty, magnificence, and wonder of the universe, I am sure there is some creative spirit or force beyond my comprehension. At the same time, each of us in our own consciousness and creativity possesses a tiny, divine spark of that universal creativity which we can use as we choose for the seconds we are on this planet. I'm not sure whether this is a religious or philosophical issue, but I think it's clearly spiritual and important to many of my suffering patients. There are secular songs that have now actually become spiritual anthems, and hymns are universal and join our souls together. And in some cases, hymns and anthems may have started out religious, but have now become secular celebrations and universal. Our goal at the ICU bedside is to help patients and families celebrate their life, their connections to each other, and be content in their life accomplishment and the contribution they have made. Jarve is going to share with you a couple more of his anthems. Lastly, one of the most powerful aspects of music is its ability to join us together. It can join the patient, family, and healthcare team in both its creation and enjoyment. When bedside music really works, it's not unlike that waning part of a great wedding performance. The audience has come together in their sharing and doesn't want it to end. So joining patients, friends, family, and even caregivers in the sharing of music can work, even if in some cases actually vocalizing is not possible.
Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if you have the things I need to borrow, for no one can feel all of those needs that you won't let show. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Now if there is a load that you can't bear, that you can't carry, just know I'm right up the road, and you should know you just gotta call me. Call me when you need a friend. If you need a friend, call me. Call me.
Thank you for joining us for this hour. Hopefully, we have shared with you our enthusiasm for the idea that music can be a powerful tool in lessening the pain, anxiety, loss of power, and confusion of COVID or any other illness or injury, and even improving patient survival and rehabilitation. Stay safe.
You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean